By the time I went to prison, I had 12 doctors. I would hit 2 doctors in one day in Orlando sometime. And I was getting a legal limit out of all of them. Yeah. Every single one of them. That wasn't enough for me. You know, people dying, people getting cut from doctors, people going to the needle, robbing pharmacies. I knew one dude that came over with a 5-gallon bucket of Oxycontin. 5-gallon, like a f***ing Home Depot bucket. Because I couldn't understand how they got so many. And I found out later they were robbing all the pharmacies.
Welcome to the Dirtbag Chronicles. My name is Bryan, and I am your host. Today we have Ginger. Ginger traveled a little bit to get here. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where'd you travel from?
New Orleans.
All right, New Orleans. New Orleans is pretty fancy, huh? You like New Orleans?
Yeah, I live on the North Shore, so I'm like right outside of New Orleans, but I work in the city a lot. So all right. It's got its cool points, and you know.
So is that where you want to live, or is there somewhere you'd rather move?
Eventually, I think we'll end up with property back in Destin and then somewhere up the coast, whether it be Oregon or New York area. I'm not really sure yet.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and just kind of open up. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, we've kind of heard a little bit about your story, but I don't think that we've got into the deep and nitty gritty part of that story. So I'm going to kind of open up the floor here for you just to kind of start sharing a little bit. And if you want to share in the beginning, kind of like about your childhood, what was childhood like for you?
So I grew up in St. Augustine, Florida. I was the youngest of, a family of 5. So I had 2 older brothers. They were 6 and 7 years older than me. So there's a bit of an age gap. My parents were 8 years apart. My father was a military child, and my grandfather was actually shot down on D-Day. He was Army Air Corps. He was in like a Romanian prison camp for like 9 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Remind me to tell you the story from the drug story related to that. I've actually never told that. Anyway. My mom, really abusive childhood. She grew up like they never lived in the same place for more than a few months. She was the oldest of 5. They didn't have lights. They didn't have food. Yeah. Like father put them in the hospital. Lots of sexual abuse allegations. Things
on your parents or
from my mother's parents. Okay. From my mother's father and the other children, her siblings' father, to the kids.
Okay.
My mom, they married my mom off when she was like 14 to some dude that, from what I understand, we've never really had.
Here in the United States?
Here in the United States. My mom lived in Tennessee for a while, and she was in Florida for a while, and I'm not sure what state she was in when this happened, but she was like my niece's age. She's like 14.
Wow.
And they married her off to some guy, and he was an alcoholic and beat the shit out of her, took all the money that they had, and she basically left and went and lived with a woman and babysat the woman's kids while the woman worked for room and board, so she had somewhere to be.
Wow. And
then she shacked up with my dad, who was 8 years older than her.
And then here came you.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Was there any kind of traumatic experiences for you as a child?
Yeah, I think we had quite a few. My mom broke her back when I was like 2 or 3. Yeah. So I have a lot of memories of my mom. And my mom, when she was a kid, she was sprayed with pesticides and stuff because they worked in the orange groves as little kids. And that's when they used to just fly over and would dump stuff while the people were outside in the orange fields. So all of her and her brothers and sisters have cancers and tumors and all types of stuff that they've had to deal with medically.
Yeah.
And then my mom broke her back. She had a hysterectomy after me. So she had a lot of medical stuff going on. So I remember that that really affected our relationship. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, which is my father's mother. Mm-hmm. I was very close to her. She was a really amazing human being. I think my parents did the best that they could. I know they both dealt with some trauma and supposedly some sexual abuse from my dad's was from a child somebody outside of the family, and my mom's was within.
Oh, wow. Do you think that ever got turned to you? Did you ever have to go through any of that trauma?
Not within my family.
Yeah.
I had a situation where I worked with somebody. He was 30 and I was 14, and was like groping basically all of us.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a situation I talked about on Ian Bick, where basically that was my first sexual experience. It was with someone that was 30 years old, was my boss, and was supposed to take me home. We ended up at a club. I wanted to go to the club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when, I guess the way it correlates to me is when that situation came about and the owner of the store heard about it. He called my parents to like want to smooth it over, I guess, and figure out what they wanted. My mom was like, I just wanted to go away. And, you know, he was like, okay, great, buried.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course he was.
So yeah, because it didn't cost him anything.
Yeah.
They moved the guy, and then I stayed there, and everyone was pissed because the owner brought his brother in to run the store, and he was not nearly as lax as the other guy because he wasn't doing the things the other guy was doing.
Yeah. So it made life difficult a little bit.
Yeah, and you know, something that people had said, well, why not leave? Why should I have to leave?
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But either way, that was kind of like the way that manifested for me. I know something happened with one of my brothers as well, and they didn't handle it at all.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's the brother that has the drug problem. And has been in and out of prison, and I have two of his 4 children living with me. My mom had them before me.
Wow.
You know.
Wow. Now, when that happened to you at 14, did that start any abnormal behavior, or how did that affect you?
So I already had some mental health issues because I had been called fat by my family from like 10 to probably like 13. So 13, that movie Miss Congeniality came out. She's like eating celery sticks. I was like, bro, I can do that. I don't like fucking celery. So then it turned into I'd skip lunch, I'd skip breakfast, I'd come home and I'd eat like a bowl of soup or wouldn't eat at all and would like go walk around the neighborhood. You know, and I just basically had like anorexia, like for food avoidance, you know. I wasn't calorie counting, but I would just decided I wasn't going to eat anymore. You know, I never felt hungry either. Like, I don't know. It was a weird transition, but I definitely liked the result of not eating because I was losing weight. And I liked the result of walking around the neighborhood all the time because I was losing weight and toning up and I wasn't being called, you know, fat anymore. Mm-hmm. So I started smoking pot. So my dad smoked pot. My brother smoked pot with them. They grew pot for a long time, like really good pot. Yeah. That's some of the best pot I'd ever seen in the state. It came from that fucking shed, bro. And it was weird because so I think, a running theme in my family growing up was like, don't tell Ginger. So it became where like, because of the age gap and because like I think I was more my grandmother's child in some sense. Mm-hmm. Like my parents were parents. I'm not saying they weren't, but like I spent so much time with her. I picked up a lot of her integrity and like her morals and her values. And I felt like there wasn't a lot of like everything's black and white. There's not a lot of gray area. It is or it isn't. Mm-hmm. And I think my family hid things from me because they felt like I would be judgmental and I wouldn't understand and it would confuse me, which it did, but it confused me more that they lied to me because I knew. Like I was never stupid. Yeah. So, you know, while they're having drug parties and I'm 12, I'm sitting out playing a Sega. It's like fucking 10 years old already. I know what's going on, bro. Yeah. And the fact that nobody can have an open conversation about it, it kills like me. Yeah. To this day, I'm like, oh, so we're all just gonna fucking ignore. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that had a long-term effect on me. The not being not a part of, but of like, you can't tell me the truth. We can't have a conversation. We can't just address the things or acknowledge. Maybe not even address. Let's just acknowledge that it exists. You don't gaslight me and tell me that I don't see what I see. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. So how old were you when those drug parties were going on? You were about the same age that the sexual assault happened?
That was before.
That was before.
I remember probably 8, 9, 10, going over to my cousin's house and my parents like hanging out in the back till 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then we going home because we only lived 2 streets over.
Yeah. When you say drug parties, you mean like...
So it wasn't like a party, but like a smaller group of people, like 10 or 15 people or less, except for the 4th of July. 4th of July was nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting high.
Was it just like casual weed smoking and drinking? No. So we're talking about like hardcore drugs and coke and all that other shit.
Primarily coke. I know towards the end, some of the people were on pills. My parents never were.
Yeah.
But that was just for me and my brother, apparently. And it was weird, too, because like I'd watch my mom get scripts for, stuff growing up, the lighter weight stuff, and she never... needed to take it. She had a broken back that had multiple surgeries. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was interesting to me.
Okay. So how old were you when you started kind of dabbling with the narcotics and the substances? So
I would say by 15, I took ecstasy with a friend that I was in school with. She had had these rolling. I was smoking pot, and she had these rolling parties, and everybody else was doing it. And I kind of like wanted to fit in. I was also like the kid. I was an honors kid. I was a drama, arts, theater kid. Okay. These kids were all different from me. Yeah. They didn't excel in school. They didn't come to school a lot of times. Right. Parents weren't like there physically, and parents were doing time and had habits, whereas like my parents functioned. My dad always held his business, like there were never times where they never came home or we never had food. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was more of like an emotional effect of like my family lies to me because they don't think I'm worth the truth. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or because we can't acknowledge it because we would rather pretend it didn't happen. Yeah. And that's like a current running theme and something I run up against in my family now. Okay. So you just kind of like romanticized that party life and kind of just wanted, did you see like the grass was greener? You had these straight A's and was really good student, and then you saw what the other kids were doing. You were like, well, I kind of want to fit in and be a part of that, be socially acceptable. Yeah. I think that's definitely because I didn't really fit in with a lot of like the rich honors kids because I already had the trauma and the stuff that people couldn't really relate to. I had a brother who was already, addicted to drugs, was already in and out of prison that people talked about. Like one year I dressed like him with a shirt that said fugitive, you didn't see me, in handcuffs because he was on the run from the police. So that was my Halloween costume one year with like the Jesus sandals, you know what I mean? They get these fucking Croc slides they give you. Because it bothered me so much because like I didn't like that people talked about it and made fun of it, and it was like a running theme. So then it was like, well, I hang out with the people that don't. And those were all people who, I relate to that shit because my dad's doing, So I definitely think I wanted to be accepted. I definitely changed the way I talked too, just to be able to fit in. I used shorter words. I cussed a lot more. And that's something I regret to this day because it's so hard to get rid of for me. Like once I picked it up, bro, those are my favorite weapons. Yeah. It's way easier to say fuck you than it is to come up with some explanation of why you're angry with somebody. Yeah. Or to take the moment to tone it down. Right. Because my initial response is to just fling daggers and just to be rational. So would you say that you were an angry teenager? Yeah, it didn't come out like most, like other kids. It showed more as like, I spent a lot of time in my room, like writing in a journal and crying. And I spent a lot of time like listening to angry music. I spent a lot of time away from home. I spent a lot of time angry at my mom. I saw all that with my dad. And like, I think it was natural for me to want to be more on my dad's side of things, I think, at the time, because I related to him more. I respected him more. And like, I think I had watched him tell my mom that she was stupid. He never should have married her my whole life, right? Wow. And my mom has like not high education. She's not dumb. She's just not like formally educated. And like, there's some things that like she's not great at. Well, with the backstory you gave me, I mean,
Fuck,
right,
he was
it
married
makes
off
sense.
at 14.
Right,
yeah.
right, and was fucking abused
Yeah.
horribly by basically everybody around her. It's amazing that she has the marbles that she has and has done as well as she has done.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't see it like that because I was a child, and I watched my dad be like narcissistic. And like emotionally, verbally abusive to her. So I was like, well, she ruined his life. He felt bad for her. You know what I mean? And I watched her too, kind of like did this really codependent enmeshment with my brother and like watch him go from being somebody that I felt had a lot of promise that I looked up to a junkie that was a felon and could not move on with his life.
Yeah.
You know? So there was a lot of anger there.
Where's he at today?
He still lives where my family lives. He's working. He went back, I don't know, a few years ago when I got the kids.
Yeah.
And came out. And he's been able to hold a job and like, I think it's kind of plateaued. You know what I mean? It's like, I offered to send him to treatment multiple times because of my connections with intervention. I had somebody say, hey, you get him here, we'll take him. And it's a long-term program. You know, we get you connected with some type of God, some type of program, community. We get you a job. Yeah. You stay here for 2 years. You leave with cash. We get you set up on insurance and all, you know, just to get a different life somewhere else. And I told him, I know so many people in Destin, bro. I can get you a job doing anything if you would just go for even 6 months and just go do 6 months and get locked into this community. I can help you. I cannot help you where you are. He didn't want to.
Yeah.
So, you know, call the kids, you know, they don't, I watch his kids struggle a lot because my niece is 14, about to be 15, and then his son is 17. So, and the oldest one is away in college. And like, I've literally watched all of them really struggle because dad just like went from one day being super involved in their lives to like not there at all. Yeah. And there's no attempt really.
Yeah.
Which is what gets me.
How old are those kids now, if you don't mind?
That's how old they are now. Okay. They're 17, 14. Oh, wow. And then the oldest one is, I think she's like 20.
Are they experiencing any kind of problems trying to release that anger or going through addiction or anything like that?
So I don't think any of them have any addiction issues. Okay. But I know they all struggle in their own ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think everybody in the world has struggles in some kind of way. We all deal with some type of trauma or, you know, and I was talking with a friend the other day and I was telling him everybody deals with some kind of trauma. But then he brought up a good point. He said, well, what about the people that grew up in a monastery? And I was like, well, I'm sure that there's still some kind of trauma. Yeah. You know, we like to judge our trauma saying, well, mine is worse than yours or yours wasn't as bad as mine. But the key to it is like it's all fucking trauma. It's like it's still affecting the way that we think about things, the way we react to things and stuff like that. But it's really nice to hear that you have the opportunity now because you came from that dirtbag lifestyle, switched your life around, and now you're actually able to be there for 3 kids that where their father is going through the same shit. Yeah. So let's go into a little bit about your dirtbag lifestyle because I do want to touch on that a little bit and kind of paint that picture so that we can kind of go into the transition on how you made it out of that bullshit. So what was like your what was your addiction like? Trying to like you were getting high. What was it like for you?
So it started out as like pain management. I had a heat stroke the summer before I went into my senior year of high school. I started having these like nausea fits and these like days where they said that it was like a horrible panic attack almost where I felt like I couldn't breathe. And my body wasn't operating right. I lost a bunch of weight. Parents didn't have insurance, so like I ended up doing these hospital rounds where I would get really, really sick. They would basically wait for me to be so sick that they thought like someone was going to CPS or I was going to die. And then they'd take me to the hospital because we didn't want the bill, right? I'm 17. So they looked, and like, you know, my birthday's the end of the year, and this is like August, September. So they're kind of trying to ride it out until I turn 18 because they think the bill's going to be mine. But basically, I would cycle in and out of the hospital, and they would give me Dilaudid, or they'd give me, you know, fentanyl or oxys, and they'd keep me for a day or 2 or 3, and they'd find like little stuff, or, you know, but nothing that would justify like what I was experiencing. Mm-hmm. Kept referring me out to doctors, but it was, you know, $200 to $500 to see a specialist, so I never went. So I would be okay for a few weeks and then would cycle back in. Well, it went on for a while, and then finally was old enough to get a referral from pain management and ended up with a script for, you know, oxys. They said that I had gastroparesis, and they said that I had issues with my neck from a car accident that my dad had where he had basically crashed into a ditch witch. You know what that is? It's like a big chainsaw. It cuts roots. Yeah. He crashed his bread truck into a ditch witch when I was like 12, and I developed a stutter step, and they said I had scoliosis and a high hip after that. And I've had like chronic neck issues and back issues, but I don't think realistically you could justify giving somebody the amount of what I was receiving for the, you know, what I had. And don't get me wrong, like I had legitimate pain. I think there were other avenues that could have been taken, and had I had the money and the insurance and the push from the family support to physically go and to get some other type of care, I think it would have turned out different. But I knew that oxys worked. And that was what they was being pushed at the time. You know, I just happened to, so this is like 2004.
This is when
and I'm in Florida. So this is like the oxy epidemic thing is going on, but it's before everybody realized, before the pharmacies were getting robbed and before things were going crazy left and right. Like it shit didn't get shut down until like 2011, 2012, shit started getting shut down over there. So that's a good, you know, 8-year ride from the time that it got started for me. But yeah, I woke up on my 18th birthday with my first day of withdrawal. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I had the flu because my birthday is 2 days after Christmas. So Capricorn gang.
Happy birthday.
You too, buddy. Sam too.
Absolutely.
But
so you didn't really have any kind of addictive problems when you were smoking weed, you know, taking a little bit of ecstasy when you were like 15, 16 years old?
The ecstasy was a very short-lived. It maybe lasted for like a month or so, where like every weekend, every other weekend we'd go over there. And I was like, dude, this is weird. I feel like my brain is just dissolving. And, you know,
I'm not going to lie. Ecstasy feels fucking good. Like, it was one of my favorite drugs. Like, I loved MDMA, ecstasy, all of that shit. I loved it.
I remember, like, chewing on my lip. Feeling so weird and have lockjaw, being dehydrated.
My head be tingling and shit. Like, I enjoyed it. But, you know, now that I look back, I'm like, damn, I enjoyed it way too much. Like, I was taking it as often as I possibly could. Like,
that's how I felt about Oxy.
Yeah. And so,
I never felt that way about anything other than Oxy to this day.
That's what I want to get into, too, because what it seems like is, like, you weren't an addict. You know, you weren't an addict until you got given that one pill, and then you were prescribed it because you were hurting and your body was feeling, I mean, you needed it. You fucking needed it. And then you got hooked on it.
Right.
So you
and then the lifestyle started. Okay. I got hooked before the lifestyle started.
Okay.
And it, you know, it was, so that was weird too for me to look at myself and be like, bro, I'm 18 years old with a scholarship, a full ride scholarship, go anywhere in the state of Florida for academics. Like, oh, I got an oxy problem? I haven't been taking them that much. Right. And so then I talked to my brother about it, and he's like, dude, if you've been taking them 3 times a week, 130 a day, 3 times a week, that's enough. Have you done them 3 days in a row at all? Yeah. And I was like, well, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and then I went out for my birthday, so I did them 3 days in a row. because I wanted to be able to function. I wanted to be able to be normal.
Yeah.
Dude, there were days where I had my family there and I'd literally lay on the couch with a fucking puke bucket, and I had pills. So it wasn't, and even before I had any of the scripts and before I was getting the stuff, I had the same stuff going on. And it was like I would eat the Oxy and it would make almost everything feel better and they say that it slows your stomach down. So I almost wondered if maybe things weren't, I don't know. They said it was gastroparesis, which basically means paralysis of the stomach. So that doesn't make sense to me, because if my stomach was already paralyzed and I'm eating Oxy, it's to slow it down even more.
Yeah.
So, but do you understand what I'm saying? But like I would eat the Oxy and they're telling me it's going to make you feel better. And the shit did. It works. They know what they're talking about. I should start listening. But you know what I mean? So, I had to look at myself. So I went through a long withdrawal period where I had pills and wouldn't eat them because I was disgusted with myself. Because I watched my brother go through it and I didn't understand. There was there's a warning label on the thing that says don't operate heavy machinery, but this is before they had a black box label and all that stuff. Yeah. So I didn't really understand that the risk of addiction.
And the doctors weren't telling you this risk either.
No. It just wasn't talked about. I didn't feel like anybody misled me or anything. I think people genuinely wanted to help me. Yeah. And it seemed to work. And when I went back, I felt better, and or I even had bad days, but they were a lot less and they were tolerable. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So what was that withdrawal like when you went through it for the first time?
Dude, I went nuts. It was I almost got Baker acted, to be honest with you, because so when my brother went to jail, he was sentenced to drug court, and I guess they realized that I was at risk because I was his sister. So they sent someone to the school when I was in my junior year, and they pulled me out of my dual enrollment class and then my AP class. So I was automatically indignant. I'm in high school doing college shit. How dare you interrupt me?
Entitled like a motherfucker. Huh?
Oh yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
And she was trying to help me, but basically I had a couple sessions with this lady. She worked for the outreach program in St. Augustine. I forgot what it was called. Epic Community Services. Her name is, I think, Nikki Gorse or Nancy Gorse, something like that. But she came out and we had a couple good conversations. I was just starting to open up to her, and she was basically like, listen, I know that there's drug history in your family because I've talked to your brother. So what you're telling me ain't jiving, because we were always told don't tell anybody because they'll take you. You don't know where you end up. You know what I mean? So she was like, I'm basically here because I don't want to see you end up like your brother. And I'm telling you now, if you continue doing what you're doing, because I was smoking pot, that was all I was doing. I had was working 30 hours a week. I was working at Polo at this time because I quit Domino's. She's like, you got the potential of you ending up like your brother is so high. And so then I quit seeing her. But I reached back out to her with the withdrawal to be like, hey, you're right. It happened. I don't know what to do, because we were 18 months later. And I went in and talked to her and basically told her, because she wanted to know about the dynamics at the home. And I had made a comment about how my parents are so detached that if I was bleeding out upstairs, nobody would know. No one would find me. So then she's like, well, we're in a Baker Act. He's like, huh? It became a big deal. But I didn't get Baker Acted, but they did send me to the hospital overnight, and basically that nobody could figure out what to do with me because I didn't qualify to be Baker Acted, and I didn't have the insurance for the addiction program that they had. And that's where they stuck me. And then all the people were there, I guess, somehow knew my financial status. I didn't have any money, so everyone was pissed that I was even part of the group the first day. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to head on out. I didn't really have any choice.
That's what's sad, too, is if you don't have the money, you're not getting treatment.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have the insurance fuck you, good luck, wait for a bed, hope you don't die until the bed opens.
Well, and this is before you couldn't, Suboxone wasn't a thing then, because this is 2005.
Yeah.
Suboxone was not a thing that was accessible then. Also, methadone, the closest clinic was an hour away. You had to go to Jacksonville or you had to go to Orlando or Daytona. So I didn't have a consistent car, you know? So it wasn't good to me. You know, it started out medicinal, and then it turned into a need, and then it turned into a lifestyle because I learned that the pills that I hadn't been taking could be sold to replace the income I had lost, because I went from working 2 jobs to working no jobs because I had jobs, but I wasn't dependable. So I get put on the schedule for like a day or like 2 days a week, easy shifts, and would come in and leave early.
Yep.
You know?
So what was that lifestyle really like? Like, can you paint that picture for us?
I mean, in the beginning, it was just a lot of like me waiting around for scripts or me waiting once a month for that script.
Yeah.
Then, you know, and like I would be kind of functional, you know, and then, God, I guess 2006, I ended up going to the clinic for a little bit because my brother and his girlfriend were going, and I had a horrible experience with that. I was on a super low dose. I was on like 30 milligrams, 40 milligrams the whole time I was there, and I threw up all the time. I was constantly ill. It was like almost like worse than where I started at before I had the oxy problem with my stomach issues. So then I quit doing that and went back to the oxys. Then I got off the oxys and did Suboxone for a little bit. And I enrolled in school, back into school because I had to use my scholarship. We're in like 2000, really 2000, it's 2007, 2008 now. And then I started doing pills again because I couldn't deal with living at home and watching the dynamics with my family and my brother, and then basically still having connections to people that like I was involved with when I was kind of like living more of like hey, I'm going to sell you a few pills, because it wasn't necessity then. You know what I mean? It was more like I was kind of dipping my toe in it. Oh, you want a few of them? I got a few. I can get you for a decent price, you know?
Yeah. Did that ever cut into your stash, selling your own pills?
Not at that point.
Okay.
But I would say after I dropped out of school because I just couldn't get there every day. I just couldn't be responsible. I didn't deserve the scholarship I had earned years before. You know, I had no real purpose after that. And I had an experience. I basically had an abortion. And that kind of fucked with me really bad. And after that, I started using pills again.
So that abortion, it brought a lot of guilt and a lot of shame.
Yeah. And it was too kind of like, I didn't really want to do it. I was hoping that like God would just take care of the issue because I wasn't fit to be a parent.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. And I came to the point where like I had to do something, and he was pushing for, you know, an abortion. And I was like, well, I guess. So I went and had one on my birthday alone.
Oh, fuck.
But either way, like after that, I'd been like off of methadone and off of pills for like 6 weeks or something. It was just like right before I dropped out of school. I dropped out of school, like I didn't go back to school. I had the abortion on my birthday, just like Christmas, and I didn't go back to school in January.
Yeah. You okay?
Yeah. So then, after that, you know, I was in this like real weird phase. And my friend took me to the club, and I started dancing for a little bit. And that didn't fucking help at all. And then, cause the money was so easy, you know? So then it would be like, I started getting fucked up once a week, even though I wasn't getting a script anymore because I didn't want the full-time script anymore. Yeah. Because I didn't want to take them every day.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it turned into, well, fuck it, we might as well go get a script again. And then I was using, you know, once a week, I would say, but I was using heavy. I would do like 300 milligrams oxy once. I'd crush up 1030s and do 3 lines and break them up and be done for the day. And the rest of the week, I would take like 3 milligrams of Suboxone, 2 milligrams of Suboxone a day to like not feel like shit for a couple days because I had done so much. And then I would repeat it the next week. Well, I had my accident where I hit the pedestrian. So after that, dude, I just wanted to die. Like, you know, so after that, it went from, well, I'm already going to go to prison. I already feel like I don't deserve to live. And like, I'm still dealing with this medical stuff still all throughout this. I never really got to a point where I would have a month solid of like not puking my guts out or having severe abdominal pain or like waking up where like my stomach would start to hurt and I would literally kink up. Like my spine and stuff would lock up. My muscles would lock up. They've tried to tell me I have fibromyalgia. They told me I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but nobody really knows. You know? It's all like shit that they just throw out there and see if you want to reel it in. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that they don't know what they're talking about. I'm just saying I think it's really hard to diagnose somebody that's had trauma history, you know, some type of mental, emotional illness, you know, and then they neglected their body for years and abused their body for years, you know, and they're now starting to sort things out. And you kink up, dude, you know, I break the cookie and try to put the cookie back together. I can kind of make it look like a heart again, but it's going to be a fucked up heart. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's what the doctors are up against. And you're like, I feel like with this healthcare system as it is now, people expect results. So if you start seeing a doctor and for 6 months, I feel like shit, doc, I'm not getting better. I'm not getting better. They see you with a puke button. They call you the puker at the ER. God, you know what I mean? Dude, my kid's dad worked at the hospital. You know, because I spent so much time up there, you know? Then when I would come in after a while, they'd give me a blanket and a bucket and stick me in the side room if they didn't have a real room to take me straight back because they already knew what I was going to go through because I was in there so much. Yeah. But I think what happens is from a doctor's perspective is you come in, you tell them this, they witness it, and they want to help you. So it's better to say, well, I think it's this, let's try this, than to say, I don't really know. Yeah. I think we should look at some other stuff, you know, plus Western medicine is more medicine and pills and pharmaceutical based than like, hey, maybe you should stretch your body every day for an hour, motherfucker. When was the last time you stretched? When was the last time you did anything good for yourself that didn't involve an oxy? Right. You know? Nobody ever had that conversation with me until way longer, way down the road. Yeah. You know?
So it sounds like you were taking these pills and you didn't really know that it was an addiction coming on to you. Yeah. And getting dependent on these pills. Yeah. And then you notice that the pills make you feel better. They help you do things, your regular routine. You enjoy being social. Yeah. And then you tried to not take them because it sounded like you were regulating them. You weren't taking like me, if I get a bottle of pills, I'm taking all of them.
In the beginning I was. Dude, towards the end.
And then it just spiraled out of control.
After my accident, so my accident...
And we're going to talk about that accident here in just a minute, too.
So the accident was like June of 2009. Yeah. By a year from there, I was on the needle. You know, I was doing between 20 and 30 30s a day. Shit. And this is when it was $10 a pill, so it's still $300. Yeah. It's $100K a year. Yeah. Every day of the year, bro. You can't take no breaks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's just a solid. All I wanted to do was be normal. You know, I didn't count on the days where there were days where I tried to kill myself with pills. There's one day where I did 65 Oxy 30s and then like one Xanny bar, and I was sick as a dog the next day, but I didn't die. And then I was mad because I had no pills and I had no money. Yeah. So
what would you do when that happened? I mean, you just be sick, or were there certain hustles that you had to get?
Yeah. I mean, so dudes was always a thing for me. You know, it was easy for me to call up a guy and get him to give me money, whether I saw him physically or there was anything or not. Yeah. Usually there was something on the back end that came out of it off of me. You know what I mean? But It was nothing for me to get a Western Union for $500, $1,000, or for, hey, I'm gonna set up a doctor visit. I'm going to the doctor towards the end before I went to prison. So I was on bond for 2 years, and like I said, I was trying to kill myself. And I wouldn't have the courage to do it like with a gun or anything. I was just hoping to OD and fucking die, but I didn't want to do street drugs. You know, it was basically only Oxy. You know, they wrote me scripts for other shit, but I almost never took it because I never really liked Xanax. They made me nervous, with weird stuff on them. Yeah. You know, and I've had a lot of friends die, you know, mixing Xanax and methadone and alcohol, Xanax and Oxy and alcohol. A lot of friends at that point.
Back then, that was like actual Xanax and
real
shit. Like
real
now,
shit.
It's all
now it's all
with
fentanyl. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was glad I got out of the game before that shit came out because I didn't have any of those experiences because I was strictly pharmaceuticals.
I'll be honest. That is what keeps me from relapsing. Is because you know my drug of choice is methamphetamine. But I've seen so many overdoses since I've been a peer support specialist here in Arkansas of people just doing that drug and overdosing instantly. Yeah. Killing them. I mean, it's
because they're not opiate addicts, bro.
Yeah. And it's just, it's all laced with fentanyl. And I've got a lot of comments too on some of my social media videos. They're like, well, why would anybody lace a drug and sell it for free? You know, like why would they lace shit with fentanyl and not sell it as fentanyl? Like what's the because I guess it's cheaper. I don't know why they do it. There's more of it. People are just
no one was giving out drugs for free when I was growing up.
No, it's fucking. It's definitely not free. But
you was coming off the top with something.
Yes, absolutely. Somebody's making something off of it.
Yeah.
There's something out there that's benefiting somebody for pushing the fentanyl, and they're pressing it with everything. I mean, I do know that a Xanax is more expensive than fentanyl. Yeah. So it's being pressed. And like I had a barber, she took a Xanax, one bar, and then her partner came in and he saw her laying on the floor overdosing from one Xanax, dude. Like I just... it scares me shitless. Like I don't even want to touch anything because I don't want to kill myself. And that's because I value my life now. Yeah. Like back there.
Before I was like,
fuck it. Yeah, please. Best way to die is overdose.
Put me out of my misery, homie. Do me a solid.
Yeah, please.
This shit's so hard to keep up with. Dude, towards the end, like, you know, because I knew I was going to prison and I had so much guilt, was trying to kill myself. What happened was every day I would meet new people, right? And every time I meet new people, I hear about a new doctor. And this is before Florida had the system. By the time I went to prison, I had 12 doctors. I would hit 2 doctors in one day in Orlando sometimes. So, and I was getting a legal limit out of all of them. Yeah. Every single fucking one of them. I was getting, you know, basically 204, because you get like 150 30s and 150 15s or something, like 180, something like that, because it would equal 240, basically. You get 8 fucking Oxy 30s a day, motherfucker. Yeah. And that wasn't enough for me. So even if I kept one script out of those 12, I still had to go get another one just to balance it out. And then everything else was kind of like, well, I'd owe people, because even though I had all those pills coming in and was selling a lot, there were days where I did 50. Yeah. Well, or like, hey, I had someone that paid every month and they didn't, even on the months where I had money, they didn't want to be left out. So I had to continue to honor that deal because that was what we had set up, you know? Yeah,
a dirtbag with morals.
I mean, it's
like our word is so important to us in the streets.
So it is. So like I never snitched. I never directly robbed anybody. I never was the type of person where you had to worry about leaving your purse around me. Yeah. There were a couple times where I did stupid shit. There was a couple times where I lost someone else's money because I got robbed, and that never made me feel good. Yeah. And I always tried to do whatever I could because there's always a doctor visit a couple days away. And I feel like if you give me your money and I tell you I'm gonna go get you something, and something bad happens to me, that's on me. You know, because normally when I deal with people, Like, they're solid people, they're people I know, but towards the end, dude, everybody was getting so, and I would come through with big money. You know, I come through, you know, and I'm not want to fight with nobody. You know what I mean? I'm just here to do business and be buddies, talk to shit, and then both leave with what we said we were going to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? So towards the end, I felt like everything was just getting so out of hand for not just me, but literally everybody. Yeah. You know, people dying, people getting cut from doctors, people going to the needle, people losing relationships, robbing pharmacies. I knew a lot of people that robbed pharmacies. Yeah. I knew one dude that came over with a 5-gallon bucket of Oxycontin with the lid on. Like a fucking Home Depot bucket, bro. This is before I was using. I saw this at someone else's house, and I was just like, trying to wrap my head around it. Yeah. Because I couldn't understand how they got so many. And I found out later they were robbing all the pharmacies in like the tri-state area. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you weren't into the street drugs. Was there ever a point in that, towards the end there, that you couldn't get your oxy, so you went to heroin?
No. I always had an oxy. So towards the end, I couldn't do the oxy, so I went to the Dilaudid. Okay. Dilaudid was cheaper. It had a better bang for the buck. Yeah. You know, I could do 10 Dilaudid, you know, do fucking 80 milligrams of Dilaudid, 120 milligrams of Dilaudid a day, and in IV, and have a nice buzz. Yeah. And that kind of messed me up too, because dude, I feel like once you deal with the needle,
yeah, it's over.
Even so, like I would buy a box once a week, a box of needles from Publix once a week. And I never had any issues because I'm a nice, pretty white girl who speaks well. And normally I didn't have tracks anywhere but my neck. You know, my hair would cover mine because I did my neck. Yeah. I didn't have fucking veins here, you know. So, and I knew everybody, you know. So a lot of times, even if they didn't want to, they would. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I didn't have the worries of like passing around a dull needle or sharing needles with people. But the ritual is what kills me.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's a ritual. Like you clean the counter with my alcohol. I had this little fucking thing of alcohol I always kept, and I'd wait for it to be done. I had this little contact case because I would drop them in water as soon as I get them, because a lot of times I would have to drive or like ride with somebody to go get them, and I'm dope sick now. I need to use now. Yeah. You know? So by the time I get back to where I am, I want to be ready. You know what I mean? Yeah. But just the ritual of it, you know what I mean, was such a time-consuming thing. Yeah. I missed so much in my life and in the life of the people around me, because I spent all of my time prior to prison, basically, and then within 6 months of me being released, it was almost back to where it was. You know, basically chasing this drug, going to doctors, going from area to area, filling scripts, you know, losing a doctor, owing people money, and like I never had anyone be able to throw dirt on my face and say, well, Ginger fucked me. But like after a while of getting your ass kicked, like that prison sentence that I knew was coming up, it was probably a blessing in the fact that I probably would have started robbing pharmacies because I wouldn't have known what else to do. And I already knew people doing it that had gotten away with it quite a bit. So I think it would have only taken the right day and the wrong conversation.
Yeah. You touched on something like really heavy too, because, you know, I was an IV user as well. And that ritual, like when you said that, it just like, it brought me all the way back to the whole thing. And like
the stuff you need, your kit.
Yeah, I had a kit.
Yeah, your
I had
kit,
a little
your fixed
bag
kit.
with everything in it. Yeah. And see, and me, I was a dirty junkie. I was one of those motherfuckers that was sitting in the hotel room passing around a fucking point, and we were all sharing it, and if I didn't have one, I was digging through fucking trash and trying to get it. Like I would go to any extent to get high that way, because I was not only addicted to the high and the rush, but I was addicted to that point going in my skin.
Dude, I was blessed with shit veins. Like I can see your veins from here,
God,
bro.
I got veins forever.
I can tie on.
Yeah.
Dude, there's one part of my intervention where like I called the poor camera guy my bathroom buddy because every time I was getting high, they wanted footage.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Come on, you ready? Let's go, buddy! Let's fucking get in there." And like I just cut my hair off because one of the doctors that I was getting pills from would always like touch my hair, and he was fucking weird. He got in trouble and shut down for shit with girls.
What the fuck?
But over in St. Augustine, Dr. Roy was his name. But he would always touch my hair. I had really long blonde hair when I started the process with intervention. It took 3 months for them to commit to me and come out. But by the time they came out, I basically shaved my fucking head. So like on the episode, you see me with like these like platinum little nubs on the end and then these dark roots because I quit maintaining it because I had cut it all off like a month before they came out, 3 weeks before they came out. Because like I got tired of him like touching my hair. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Which I'm sure kind of brought back some memories from when you were 14.
Yeah, because that was the type of shit that they would do. Bump up against you, rub up against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Predators are...
They all operate the same, too.
Yeah.
They all operate the same.
Yeah.
Befriend, confuse, isolate, perpetrate.
Yeah.
Repeat.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Because I dealt with that, too, and that's exactly what happened was my friend and then spoiled me. Yeah. And I'm fucking between the ages of 9 and 11.
Yeah.
And then when I wasn't good enough, it like just completely pushed me to the side and went to their next victim.
Yeah.
And then that caused fucking damage in my life. And like it sucks to say that. Yeah. You know, because I was a kid, I was a baby. Yeah. You know?
And you don't understand.
And I didn't understand what this other man was doing to me. Mm-hmm. And like it fucked me up, like really fucking bad for many years, pretty much until I got into recovery.
Yeah.
And started working on that, doing that shadow work on myself.
Shadow work is hard, bro. You gotta look at a lot of stuff.
And I just, me and my fiance, we were watching something last night, and I guess it's Capricorn since 2008. Since we're Capricorns, has been in their moon or something. Yeah. And it's coming out of that. Yeah. And so since 2008.
December, we started to come around the cusp.
Yeah. So 2008 till now, we've been in the shadow. Yeah. And we've been going through all this shit, but now it's time for us to rise,
bitch. Bro, I got told the same thing.
Yeah. We're going to get this. We're coming out of this shit.
Do you know your life cycle? I'm a 9th life cycle.
I have no idea.
So I've been here over and over, and like it's interesting. So like one of the fundamental things Ian had asked me, not on the podcast, like just in conversation, was he had said, do you have a hard time leaving people behind? And bro, it's so hard for me. Like, so I'm the person that like, I keep in contact with, like you'll constantly, so now that you're on my Facebook, right? You'll see me all the time. Is there anyone in this area? Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna be here. If you want to get together, I fucking come to you because I'm gonna be around.
Yeah.
I'm all like, even if I've got friends that I'm trying to go see now in California tomorrow when we leave out of here, that I know aren't doing as good as they say they are. And I'm all right with that. Like, bro, I would like to show up for you no matter how you show up. Yeah. Because this might be the last time I see you if you're on that run. Yeah. So I had somebody that I was in treatment with in California. I went to a place called Casa Capri, and her name was Ashley, and she lived in the apartment across from me, and she was like, her and this other girl, Jules, were like my people in treatment. And this is when I was in IOP, right? Because I got gifted IOP, long-term IOP, and in sober living. I went to California in 2018, saw her in 2018, and she wasn't doing good. She'd been in and out of rehab everywhere. Her parents had a lot of money. She was really pretty. And I think she wanted consequences to stop, but she wasn't tired. She wasn't done yet. So she got with some dude and was using again. And it took me 4 days to convince her to meet me. I'm so glad that we did, because I was supposed to come out and see her 2020. or maybe it was 2019. It was either 2019 or 2020. I can't remember. But she went missing like around the time I was supposed to go see her, and then they found her dead in a U-Haul. She was wrapped up in like, if I understand what I was told correctly, she was like under debris, or like her body was concealed essentially. And like, I don't know the behind the scenes of like how she ended up there. I talked to her family, and they disclosed what they wanted to, which was very little, and just said that she was involved in some stuff that they didn't feel safe moving forward with any of the investigating. And that, like, I get that feeling anytime I see people online and I know they're not doing good and they don't want to meet. Or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, I'm all right, you know. Like, that's why a lot of times, like, I'm mildly autistic anyway, right? I have ADHD bad. So I want to visually see you, especially if you're one of, like, my people who were in recovery, or you struggled, or you're doing MAT, or you've got trauma, or you've got a history of suicidal tendencies, or whatever it is. Like, I don't need to leave you behind, bro. Like, I'm like a linebacker, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm big for a girl. I can carry a lot of weight, but like, I can only do it so long. Like, I need you to fight for you. Like, I'll grab your hand. I'm right here. Like, there's no reason to leave anybody behind. You can fucking come with me. Yeah. So it kills me to walk away from people, especially if they were a part of my fundamental growth, right? And because I always have that thought in my mind, and I think about Ashley more than anybody else when it comes to that, because I think, like, when I was out there, Doug, my husband, was telling me, like, why are you fighting to see her if she doesn't want to see you? Yeah. And I was like, because I don't know what she's going through, but I know what she's going through. Yeah. You know, she probably thought, so like when I first got sober, I was a big book thumper because that was what was instilled to me. And it made sense. I'd never done anything else. So, and all these other people swore it worked for them. Yeah. And I had something that, like, I could essentially recite to, like, calm me down, right? Yeah. So I think in her mind, she was like scared that I would big book her to death and shame her with it, because I could use it as a weapon, you know, or as like a tool to help people. And like when I first got sober, I vacillated a lot between beating people with the big book, because I was told, hey, I'll walk over your dead body to get into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous because I need to be here. And if you have to die in front of me for me to get in, then I'm going to step over you because I'm going to do what I have to do. You know, and it was more of like the thing of, hey, when you get sober, you need 3 suits. You've heard that, right? Because you're going to bury a lot of people. You know, but like I took it like literally, you know what I mean? So I'm like, get sober or die, motherfucker. I was crazy as the day is long. I mean, I'm still crazy, but like I'm more chill crazy than I was before, bro. Yeah. So it was a lot, you know, like. And like everything I do, I feel strongly about. And even if I don't, you think I do because I get excited easy and I do a lot of this. So people are like, I don't know if I'm safe. I don't know if she's mad. I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. But
oh, love it.
It's interesting because like that was a big part of my recovery, my growth was going through that process. And I needed that in the beginning. I tell people all the time, I would never have gotten sober had intervention not come through, because I needed 90 days in an inpatient treatment where I could not leave and I could not access anything. Yeah. I mean, I could have walked out the door, but they were willing to keep me. Right. They weren't pushing me out the door, which is what I'd experienced every other time. Medical problems were too much for the places I could afford, you know.
So let's talk a little bit about intervention. So you were on the TV show Intervention.
Yeah.
So how did that come part of your life? Like, how did you get involved with that? Was there somebody else bring that onto you? You reached out to them, say, hey, motherfucker, I need an intervention. I'm perfect for your show.
So this is after prison, right? I come home from prison. I have trauma in prison.
What year?
So this is... You want to talk about prison first? We ain't even really get into prison yet. Or do you want to just jump into the intervention?
Let's just jump into the intervention.
That's fine. So I did my prison time, right? And things that happened in prison happened in prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Happened to me, happened to like 20 other people in my dorm and countless other people that I'll never know about and probably still happening right now because they were at fucking Lowell, which is like the most cited women's prison in the country. It's supposed to be the largest, and it's got like the most sexual abuse and violence write-ups, reports, investigations of like any other prison in the country against violence of staff against inmates. So I come home and like I'm on house arrest. I'm sober for like, I don't know, I got home last day of September. I was sober up until like right around my birthday. So
you were sober and clean all the way through prison? I was sober
and clean through prison, right. Okay. I went through withdrawal in prison. I went through kidney and liver failure, and they had to take me outside. The black box me. I wasn't even classified. I got in like Friday morning because Thursday night they kicked my bunk. Was sentenced Tuesday. Thursday they kicked my bunk. Friday I was in prison. I started going into withdrawal Saturday because I brought shit into county and ate what I could and gave away the rest and flushed the rest of that. Yeah. And by Wednesday morning, they basically called 911 because I was just so sick. So sick. But they sent me out to the hospital, like with a black box and all that craziness. And then I was kind of normal after that and dealt with a lot of stomach issues, and like body problems, neck issues and stuff like that. But I normalized and they weren't going to give me nothing. Yeah. You know, just kind of struggled through it. And then when I got home, I was still sober up until I would say like around my birthday or the new year. Okay. I pen palled while I was in there. So I walked out of prison with $10,000 or so, give or take, a little more, I guess. And the state, or not the state, but the bank, inmate bank, was run by Bank of America. They had to cut me a check. So I came home for like 3 weeks to my parents' house. And like the first day I was home, I found a loaded needle that had like probably 10 to 20 Oxy-30s in them. It was a solid blue needle, bro. That bitch was full. I remember looking for it like the day before because I remember I'd put one under there, but I couldn't reach it. I couldn't get the dresser out. Yeah. So I eventually abandoned it because I thought maybe I'd used it, but I was cleaning the room out and found it tucked up under there and gave it to my mom like 2 a.m. because I freaked out. So you saw it. Did that trigger you? Were you? Yeah. You were instantly like, I mean, I thought about it for like a split. So I was like, I wonder. And I was like, bitch, you're going to die. Yeah. You ain't done nothing like 3 years, homie. And I just went downstairs and gave it to my mom, let them get rid of it. That's incredible. But, you know, I waited for that check. I had like a little bit of money. I sent myself home $1,500 through admin. I don't know if you've ever done that. You could cut a check. If you got enough money in your account, you can go to admin and cut a check to wherever, a business, to yourself, to cash or your family. And it takes a while, but they'll send it out. So I did that like 2 months before I got home. So like the week I got home, I had a check there for me so I could have money because I needed new clothes and all that stuff. I found a place to live, and then my big check came, and I, got myself a place to live that was close to town because I have a driver's license. They took my license for life. So I was riding a bike to work at Sonny's for $8.50 an hour in the kitchen after having a heat stroke, and they had no AC in Florida in the kitchen in this bitch. So I would work like 2 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon and still not make like $40 for the whole day after taxes. Not worth that bike ride. Yeah, it just sucked. But it was what it was. And like after a while, I didn't want to fucking work a job anymore. And the pills were around, and I kind of learned how the house arrest worked and how to work the system because I didn't have a monitor. It was like community control, so it was without the ankle monitor. And I started with the dudes. The dudes would, I always knew the dudes were interested in financing my lifestyle, but I'd never like taken them up on it because I had the pill hustle. I was going from doctor to doctor. You want to pay for my doctor? That's great. You ain't gonna pay for nothing else. But it kind of transitioned into that because I felt like with no driver's license, no formal education, no nothing, I really couldn't do anything else. Is what I felt like. Being on house arrest and just like everything I had going against me and the fact that I was using again. So the dudes came in and, dude, that shit goes south quick. You know what I mean? Like it just numbed my soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, and at one point I kind of just woke up and was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like I cannot meet a guy, pretend to be interested, ask me if he's got any money. You know, I just can't do this shit no more, man. Yeah. So I basically told God, this is like summer of 2015. I went back to school. I went to cosmetology school and I was doing really well in the beginning because I was sober in the beginning and I'm relapsing. So here I am again with another scholarship, you know, that people die for, you know, people beg for help to go back to school. And I couldn't fucking get there every day because I couldn't stop with the lifestyle, with the bullshit. Yeah. And I was just like, dude, I'm just gonna kill myself because my life's never gonna be anything. I'm always gonna be sick. I'm never gonna have a fucking license again. Nobody wants a wife or a mother that doesn't have a license, you know? I felt like I had fucked my kid up because I'd been gone. And my family was fucked and nobody was wanting to have any type of conversations to heal or to grow or to change or even acknowledge. So it made me more and more angry. Yeah. So I was like, well, I'm gonna write Dr. Phil. I'm gonna write Intervention. I wrote Intervention actually in 2009, 2010. I wrote them. And we got as far as like some of the process and I had the pending felony. So as soon as I told them I had a pending felony for a hit and run, they backed out because people disappear, people get sentenced and then they don't finish their show. Yeah. So that kept them away from me the first time. But this time, both times you have to pretend to be a family member. Because if they know that you know, they tell your family, they pack up in the middle of the night and they leave. But nobody gets treatment. And you know how devastating that would be? Yeah. If your family fucking riled together and sat for hours talking to these people for months on end and talking to each other. Oh, she's going to get help. She's going to get help. She's going to go. She just just need to hang on. We only need to hang on. Then they get there and somebody finds out that they know and they pack up in the middle of the night like cowards and leave. I'm not saying they did that. Yeah. I don't know. I know what the paperwork said on what they told the person who wrote, which was me, from another email address. Yeah. You know, so I had to pretend like I didn't know. You know what I mean? But the whole time I was counting on it because I was going to shoot myself in the head before the end of the year. Yeah. I wanted to do it before Christmas, but after my niece's birthday, because we got a bunch of birthday. We're all fucking Capricorns and Sagittarius in my family for the most part. So we got a string of birthdays from the middle of November, really Halloween up until the end of the year. So I was trying to off myself because I didn't want to do another Christmas or another birthday because my birthday is the first day of my withdrawal. Yeah. But I got treatment like the intervention came out and did my intervention like the day before I was going to shoot myself. Wow. So, because it was all my niece's birthday. Wow. It was the day that I went, December 16th.
So there's definitely a higher power.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a God thing. It was not. They get 10,000 letters a day. The fact that anybody ever read mine, you know, never mind the fact that they wanted to help me. Because there was nothing special about me other than that I was a bright kid who had trauma. Yeah. But I know lots of kids like that, you know? Yeah. Absolutely. I really think intervention and like, it was weird because when I first went through it, it was like a way to keep people away from me and to separate myself from people. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not intervention. Like, it's so bad. Like, you don't know. Or, you know what I mean? Or, I'm on TV shooting up in my neck. Do you want to hang out? Right. Oh, no, you call me. Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to relate to people. I didn't want to connect with people because I was so tired of being hurt and being let down and like, not being good enough or not being able to, whatever, ad infinitum. You know what I mean? But my treatment experience with the place that they sent me, which was Destin Recovery Center, they actually sent me to one place first. It was a horrible fit for me, and I really had to advocate for myself over and over and over and over and over to be heard. And then the medical director was like, hey, yeah, you guys got to take her somewhere else. She can't, this isn't for her. Then they sent me to DRC, and like I connected with the 12-step community. I connected with the staff there, and like to this day, like I was going through midlife crisis like a month ago, 2 months ago. I went down to Destin. I drove the 3.5 hours to Destin and went and hung out in Destin, went and saw all my people that worked at the treatment center, no longer work there. This is not a center anymore. But I went and saw them and saw my people from AA, and I went to my old home group and sat in my home group and cried in my home group because I've been in this weird, I don't have a new home group where I'm at because I'm in this weird spot where I have a medical marijuana vape. So ever since we moved from Destin, I got one around that time. I never got back into the community because I feel like a fraud because it was so instilled to me that, if you take Tylenol, if you take antidepressants, I'm not advocating to be like that, but that was what was instilled to me. Yeah. So I feel like a fraud hanging out with people, even if I don't say I'm sober, being there, you know what I mean? And having a medical marijuana vape.
See, I'm a big advocate for multiple pathways.
Harm reduction.
There is no...
What saves your life, bro? What prevents you from putting a needle in your neck and going to the fucking street corner and selling your ass? Or robbing the dope dealer or robbing a pharmacy or making your own drugs or...
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't give a fuck what your pathway is. If your life is better than what it was and you are able to manage your fucking life... then get it.
Yeah,
and
whatever that looks like for you.
I support you fully in that. Yeah. For me, it's, I'm completely abstinent.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I did that for 3 years. And then I got to the point in sobriety, I was going to fucking shoot myself because I had so much pain. And like, Doug was a big deal for me. Doug's my husband. He's probably the only person that I've ever really been able to like always count on and has always been there for me. And like mine and Doug's relationship was more of like the movie Pretty Woman. Yeah. You remember that movie? Yeah. That's how our relationship started. Okay? You following me? Okay. So when it transitioned into a normal relationship and things smoothed out, I had an opportunity to have a life that I never would have had. He was the one that pushed for me to get an appeal. And he says all the time, best $3,000 I ever spent. Because when I was sentenced, the judge revoked my license for life. I've never seen anybody win an appeal. I've heard rumors that they happen. I know a lot of people that tried and never won. Yeah. But when I came home, I had already tried twice and I'd even dated an attorney. But by the time we got into court, we weren't dating no more. So I think it was like, fuck your appeal. Fuck your license, bitch. Yeah. So I didn't want to try no more because I got tired of being told no after working on it and getting my hopes up.
And that's a big hurdle for somebody that doesn't have a license trying to get a license and better their life and take care of them. Like a license, and I think it's bullshit that you have to have a fucking license to drive a car. But it's whatever, it is what it is. But still, when I got out of prison in 2019, I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't have a vehicle. I had nothing to set me up for success, but I had everything to set me up for fucking failure. Yeah. Like I went into the parole office in 2019, the day after I got out. And this is the first time I had ever been on parole. And I go in to see my parole officer and they say, oh, well, you haven't paid your fine yet. We're going to extend your parole. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't even know I was supposed to pay it. Nobody even told me that I was supposed to pay it.
Don't send me no certified mail. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, hell, I just walked out of the prison gates the day before. Yeah. Come in to see. And it's just bullshit. The whole system is very, very set up to make that stigma last a lot longer than it has to. But driver's license is so important. I mean, I had a guy on the show, his name's Michael, and he runs a program in a county jail, which he is just like us. He's a recovering addict. And he was talking about there was like a 40 or 50-year-old woman that just got her driver's license for the first time in her life. And I can imagine how proud you are to have that accomplishment. Like anybody that's had a driver's license since they were 16 years old and has always had it's no big fucking deal.
Right.
But for somebody that has never had it and has always tried to get it or just continued to give up on getting a driver's license, and then you finally get it and you are a senior, you know, it's like, oh my God, I got a driver's license, you know, and that is a big deal. I think there needs to be more support and more programs out there to help and encourage people that have been caught on driving unsuspended or have multiple fines that's keeping them from getting it.
Yeah.
There needs to be a way for everybody to have a fucking driver's license to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You
or
know,
they need to put the money into public transportation. Either one, you got to pick one. You can't have somebody in the middle of Florida.
And I'm all against if somebody was driving and they have multiple charges of manslaughter or DWIs and they just cannot. Let's keep our roads safe.
Yeah.
But the people that are trying and they're proving themselves month after month after month, and they're consistent with making progress in their life, give them a fucking driver's license.
Yeah. Dude, you know what's interesting is you hit on something that one of the comments that like people will say when they hear my story and they look me up, they're like, she's had multiple hit and runs. I was brought back to court to county after I was sentenced to prison. So they put on your charging documents the same charge that you're in prison for because you're DOC custody. Yeah. So it looks like I got checked into county 3 times for a hit and run in St. Johns County, but I only ever had the one arrest. The rest was me being transported from DOC to county. Yeah. Stupid people. You can't explain that to people on the internet, though, because everybody knows more.
Everybody's opinionated.
Yeah.
And they hear what they want to hear. And they're like, oh, yeah, fuck that.
And they run with it. Just like the shit about the officer that was in the pregnant dorm. This dude fucked over 20 women or had some type of sexual interaction. Yeah, because it's not a relationship. Because out of the 23 people that I've been told about, I've physically myself talked to 15 of them and verified it. And the other ones are either back in, they can't be found. Yeah. Whatever. Either way, they all say the same thing. You know, it was like befriend, kind of confuse, blur the lines, isolate. And then, get out of there. Yeah. But to me, like to hear people say, because I said in Ian's interview, he was my friend. What I meant by that was the reason why I felt comfortable enough to be in a situation where I was alone doing supplies. And a lot, dude, if you got a shitty officer, it ain't up to you to be like, well, I'm not doing it alone. Yeah. If you're a dorm worker or if you're assigned to grounds and there are no grounds for your dorm and you're supposed to do shit for like, go get supplies or whatever it is. Yeah. Like.
And a lot of people don't understand the prison life.
I know.
They don't get it because they've never been there.
I know.
They think they know it by watching fucking prison episodes, and they don't get it. But, you don't know it unless you've been in those shoes.
Right. So my thing was me saying he was my friend. That's why I was comfortable and I didn't really have my guard up being back there. And that's why it was so confusing for me because like we talked about normal things. We had conversations. They were never sexual in nature. Yeah. There was never any, oh, well, hey, what would you do? Or there was never any, hey, you want to meet me in the back and fool around? There was none of that. It was I turned around and this guy's stuff is exposed. Yeah. And it happened really quickly. And the next thing I know, we're going into count. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know how to process it. And I didn't even process it until after I went home. And I had other people start reaching out to me saying, hey, you remember that day? Blah, blah, blah. I remember that day. I'm going to tell you what happened with me. What happened with you? And then we all started talking to each other and realizing it was over and over and over. Like I said, he got... Right, like within 3 weeks after me, there was a new girl brought in, and within 2 or 3 days, she was in the back while they were going to chow, and they were back there so long, and people had told on them, white shirts came down, and he was coming out as they were coming in with a different set of keys, and they removed him from the dorm and put him on perimeter, and she went to confinement, and then got shipped. while her shit got ran through and, admit if it didn't get stolen first because they unlock the lock and just leave it open, But he didn't lose his job. The next day, he was on perimeter, and as soon as they called us for chow, he brought the truck up and was waving at the fence to everybody, like, fuck you, bitches. I still got my job.
Yeah, what a piece of shit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and, like, there was a lot of stuff that was well known in the prison, too, that, like, everybody talked about and nobody did shit about. And that was another reason, because people were like, oh, why didn't you say something? Because no, a bitch doesn't want to go to confinement under AC investigation. I did that once before. Yeah. I spent 87 days in AC confinement, never got let out for anything other than a shower once a week, because they'd always find a reason not to let me out. Never got one phone call and missed visits. They kept my mail. Then when they locked me, they gave me what I had on. Yeah. They took everything else down to admin, looking through it to see if there was evidence of something. Yeah. Then I had to wait for property to give it back. It took me like 10 days.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I think they need to make some kind of documentary about that kind of shit that's going on.
So I actually have something in the works for that was at least central to my story and the story surrounding the prison that I was at. I have a few white shirts, one that's still active there, that are willing to come forward. I have a couple people that were like a chaplain. There was a nurse. I've got the librarian. I've got a few officers that quit, quite a few officers, and I've got probably 20 different former inmates.
Wow.
And families. I got some of their families, too, that'll say, well, hey, we came to VP and we saw this, or we were told this. Or,
that's a story that needs to be told for sure.
Yeah, like I said, Lowell is the most cited prison in the country for abuse against inmates, and it's the largest women's prison in the country. I think it's like as far as maxed out capacity.
Wow.
They also house, lifers and death row inmates. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. And I hope, let's see where we can, if I can help you with that project, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wanted to kind of get a take of like, it's kind of going to be like Surviving R. Kelly meets Orange is the New Black, because that's the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I wanted the second part of it. I think it's going to have to be like a mini series essentially. But the second part of it is going to be more of like, what are we doing now to better our community? Because almost everybody that I keep in touch with that's doing okay is doing some shit like what we're doing right here, right now. They work for somebody that's helping. Like I know one girl that she's in Jacksonville, Florida, and she works at a facility where they only hire ex-felons, and they work with women who have been trafficked. And they try to get if you can prove that your charges were relating to you being trafficked, they try to get your record expunged.
Yeah.
Which is life-changing for people.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. I'm almost to the point where I can apply for clemency. You got to be home for, I think, 10 years. 10 years from completion of sentence. So I got home in 2013, was sentenced in 2011. So my completion of sentence actually isn't going to be, wasn't until 2015 because I had the house arrest.
Yeah.
So 2 more years, a little less than a year and a half.
Got it.
Yeah, and I can apply. So
that's good.
It's a long process, though.
That's good. So let's go into the message of hope. You've done an amazing job at painting the picture of what that lifestyle was like, the things that you went through, the trauma, the entire experience. And I really appreciate you being vulnerable enough to share a lot of that personal information. I believe that information is going to help somebody else relate with your story, and they'll be able to reach out. You know, and because that was my problem for so long, and I'm sure that you can relate with this, is like I'm going through all this shit and I have nobody to fucking talk to.
Yeah, and the people I want that I can talk to, I can't talk to you. You're part of the problem, or you don't care because you've been so close to it for so long and you don't understand why I just can't be normal, even though you just can't be normal and you don't have the drug issue.
Right.
You know?
Right. Absolutely right. So what is life like today?
My life is really good. And so again, I attribute a lot of that to a combination of things, right? So like by the time intervention came, I was ready, dude. I was so tired. I just couldn't live like that no more. I was tired of the high. I was tired of what I had to do to get it. I was tired of the lifestyle. I was tired of the consequences. And I was even tired of the good parts. Like the good parts weren't even good anymore. You know what I mean? I wanted to just be able to be normal. And, you know, through intervention and getting treatment, because I was gifted, you know, the 3 months of regular treatment, and then I was gifted IOP with sober living after that in California. I met a lot of really amazing people that I make sure I do my due diligence to keep up with. I'm going to see some, you know, tomorrow when I get out there, and I see him in Destin, and I keep the connections, right? So like one of the most profound things I ever heard, and this is kind of what helps me now when I get in that weird funk of like, because I feel like I let people down because I've got a medical marijuana vape, right? Because people reach out to me because they see me on the show, I'm doing the podcast thing, so I'm starting to be a little more vocal now, and they want to know if I'm sober. And I say no, because of, for me, I think I want to always be 100% authentic, right? And like, I don't ever want someone to think, well, she's totally sober and she did it, and I've been struggling to do it for 5 years. I want to kill myself because I got chronic pain. How come she could do it? And like, I couldn't. I don't ever want anybody to look at me like I misrepresent something, because I think it's really harmful, right? So I feel like I owe people, though. I feel like I have an obligation to people to like be 100% sober, even though my life is very manageable. My life is better now than it ever was. You know, so I think being able to come on and like tell people the truth, and like I like to tell people too, not everybody had a Doug. Dude, I found a really good dude that had similar morals. He had no drug issues, no mental health problems. Motherfucker was never abused as a child.
What's that like?
What's that people like? Loved you, bro, and they meant that shit. You mean like they tell you they love you after they beat you, right? What do you mean you never got hit? Damn, you got a college fund? My dude! White privilege in the house! Fucking, but he's a really good dude. He's a really solid dude. And like when we got together, he was willing, even before we were like completely together, he was willing to like, just as a friend, be there for me. And we get like, while he was out to sea while I was in sober living, so we talked a lot, you know, through that, and grew really close to each other. And I immediately moved in with him after I got done with IOP. I had nowhere to go. I didn't have any money and have anything, you know? So it's like summer of 2016. And he was willing to basically do whatever he could to try to get me to be a normal human being, you know, because I had so much against me, and there was really no way for me to move without somebody helping me somewhere along the line. And I think he felt like, dude, you did a lot to change. It would have been really easy for you to just continue to live how you were and get money from people and just keep going until you couldn't no more, you know, but like to reverse that shit, reverse it, bro. Like when you're that far in the game, it's hard. It's hard. Really hard. And then you have to reverse the years of like the trauma that I've done to my body from having accidents and not taking care of myself and like having chronic issues and inflammation and whatever. But, you know, Doug having a 6-figure-a-year job, no kids, no debt, and was willing to help me. Plus, he worked out to sea, right? So, like, the first 3 years of us being together, I was left alone 3 months at a time. So after I got my license, I was able to finish my cosmetology license. The only reason why I did that was to finish it, because the only thing I've ever finished in my life was a prison sentence. And I didn't realize it until I got sober. That's the only thing. My ADHD goes hard, bro. Like, the only thing in my life I've ever completed the way it was supposed to be completed in its entirety, including high school. You know, I got a scholarship. Bitch, I missed 135 days of school my senior year. They couldn't prevent me from graduating because I had so many credits, and I already had a scholarship before going into that year. You know what I mean? So I didn't walk. I didn't go. I ended up going to the hospital. But they brought me my diploma to the hospital. So like, to me, I didn't complete it the way I was supposed to. I didn't go to fucking school my senior year like all the other normal people did.
I didn't either.
Right?
I didn't either. I ended up
Entitled,
getting a
bro.
GD.
I could go once a week or once every 2 weeks and I can get the same grades as the people in class. Why should I have to go? Entitlement.
Yeah.
And it's finest.
Yep.
And like the alcoholic, drug addict ego rebuilds at an alarming rate, right? Like I'll get my ass kicked for a decade. I have 2 or 3 good weeks. It ain't that bad. I see we can handle this. Immediately.
Yeah.
I got a month of sober and I got the answers to everything. Oh man. But like, for me, a lot of the hope was in the rooms of recovery. And it was with people that had been through the same things. But like I said, one of the most profound things I'd ever heard was a lot of people think the opposite of addiction is total abstinence. For me, I was never the social addict. I want to get my pills, go home and use, and like do what I need to do around my house. Cause like that's how pills started for me. Like I need to physically function today. I can't, I hurt, I'm sick. I don't know what's wrong with me. I need this pick me up to get out of the bed and do the shit that I need to do to be a normal human being, to pretend. So that was kind of the realm of how that was what I always chased, even when it was no longer normal because I was sticking a needle in my neck. That was the feeling I was still chasing. Yeah. But for me, the opposite of addiction is connection. Yeah. It's community.
That's what we're all seeking.
Right. Yeah. And like that is, I think, why my life has gotten profoundly better. I have a good connection and I have a healthy relationship with somebody that has like seen the worst in me and like has seen me manic and seen me do crazy things and is just like stable as can be.
That's the definition of recovery. Recovery, we mix up the definition of addiction with recovery. Yeah. Recovery is not addiction. Recovery is what we do with addiction. Recovery's definition is to return to a healthy state. Right. Of physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. It's all of these things in one. Addiction is what we have to break. Addiction is the disease. Recovery is our medicine that we use to cure that. Yeah. We come back to a healthy state of a person, our mind, our spiritual, our emotional, and it's not that we have perfect balance, but we have it balanced. Yeah. There's a girl in the rooms in Destin, and she always says, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I have recovered from a hopeless state of mind." Yeah. And sometimes she'll say hopeless state of mind and body, and that made sense to me. Things leveled out, Yeah. But I think too, like, it was really the trifecta of the intervention with the treatment and the break to see. Because I really needed that break from my family and the environment to really have enough time. Because I still had withdrawal symptoms, 4 months in. I still had stomach issues. I was still kinking up real bad, sweating, weird for a long time. I really don't think I got over it like solid completely until I was a year in. And then I started to like really work on my body because I had done so much to work on the emotional side and the trauma side. But I just had a lot of support from the 12-step community and then from, Doug. And then Doug had the financial side. Like a lot of people come out of treatment, they don't have anything. No, they don't. So if you don't have family to help you or you don't have a great job or a pension or something you could cash in on, it's really hard. Yeah. And I try to tell people, because a lot of people reach out to me and say, well, you did so much. You did all this. That wasn't just me. Right. Like people helped me, but I also did my part. I showed up. I asked people for help. I showed up when they offered help. I accepted help when they offered help. And then I, in turn, tried to help them and other people after that. Yeah. And I still do that to this day, even though it doesn't look the same as it did when I first got sober and was totally abstinent. Yeah. I think part of me helping people now is to spread the message of, hey, if you did your totally abstinent time and that helped you to get healthier and get in a right frame of mind to make other decisions that are manageable, and for whatever reason, the benefits outweigh the thought of, is this medical marijuana or is this an antidepressant or is this an antipsychotic or
whatever it is. I'm not a doctor. I am a fellow person who struggled. I can only relate my experiences to you, and that is only how helpful I will ever be to you. I cannot give you information and answers to things I've never experienced. I can refer you to people I think may be able to help you, but like, it's a give and take, touch and go thing. And, do you understand what I'm saying? I feel like as a Capricorn, I like to put people on pedestals. And because I got ADHD, I got new favorite people. And so like someone will say something smart and I'll be like, I fucks with that. Yeah, he knows. And then I like start to think that their word is bond for everything, and that I need to match my morals in my life up to what works for them. And what's interesting about Alcoholics and Addicts too is like a normal person, right, will change their lifestyle to match their goals. Alcoholics and Addicts, we change the goal to match the lifestyle.
Absolutely.
I gotta quit smoking weed. I want to work for the Pentagon. So I guess I'm just gonna work for Walmart because fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, and nothing wrong with working for. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And for life, what is life like now? I had a lot of growth. I started boxing. I started doing aerial silks. I think a lot of my growth came from that because it's a physical. I really am an athlete at heart. I really like to be challenged physically, and I like to have that like punch stuff. I started boxing again recently, and that made me super happy. The aerial silks, it's a performing thing, and it's a physical exercise, and it's pretty. It's almost like interpretive dance. So that it makes me feel powerful, it makes me feel strong. And it's actually, I got into these because in sobriety, I wanted to kill myself before I started with the marijuana vape. So I did everything I could to feel better. I lost 70 pounds in like a 6-month period doing aerial silks and boxing and changing what I was eating because I felt physically so bad. And I was like, I'm going to go back to the doctor. I got it because that's what my brain kept saying. Well, you know how to fix this. You don't feel good. We can make this shit go away. You won't feel it no more. You won't feel nothing no more, as a matter of fact.
Right. Right.
So like I had to combat that with something, and it turned into like a manic 6 months of just being crazy about the gym and focused on what I was eating, but I got through it in a healthier way than what I used to do. So harm reduction has been a big thing, as well as the support system and having the freedom to be able to actually go to a doctor because I have insurance and to be able to drive myself somewhere because I have a driver's license and I have a bank account. You know what I mean? It's just wild, I moved around a lot. I bought, my husband and I bought 6 houses in 5 years in 3 different states.
Wow.
And we were dumb. We lived in every single one of them and moved. And this one has been my project. We gutted the house and I designed the house from the inside out.
That's fun.
Yeah, I reworked rooms, reworked everything, tile, flooring, like literally everything has changed in there. So it's been like my project. And it's given me something to kind of like claim ownership to, kind of like my art display with like my Halloween decor and the Christmas decor. But I've also managed to get into TV and film. We lived in Charleston before we lived in New Orleans. We were only there for like 8 months, but I started modeling while I was out there. And I'd always had like an interest in it as a kid. And I kind of like what I'm doing now is that inner child is starting to heal. Yeah. And it's crazy because like it started out as kind of expensive, and I never would have been able to afford that without, my husband being supportive of, hey, I'm out to see whatever keeps you sane, like you go do. Yeah. Because if you're sane when I get home, it's better for everybody. Yeah. And if you look better, then that's better for everybody too, Yeah. Like I was able to get my teeth fixed, I paid for that, but he showed me how to fill out the credit stuff, because I didn't know, know. There was just a lot of things that I was able to do with the help of other people once I asked and was willing to accept the answers. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes that includes waiting, which is hard for me.
Yeah. Because we want it right now.
Yeah, bro. I want it yesterday. I didn't think about it till today. More. But the Charleston thing kind of opened doors for me because I I started modeling. I got a little portfolio. So then when we moved here, I got discovered at my gym with London, with my 4-year-old, who was 2 at the time. And someone was like, hey, you should go work in TV and film. Have you ever done anything like that? I was like, well, I was a theater kid. But, and I did some modeling, but I've never been in movies or commercials or anything. And they gave me a website and some contact information. Within a week later, I was on a BET TV show.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy. The first job I ever auditioned for was that Super Bowl commercial. Okay. And that was super cool. That ran last year. It was the He Gets Us campaign. It was the Jesus app by the people that did the Hobby Lobby. You only see me for a second, but I was in there. And that was cool. Like, I've talked to people that are like, dude, that's a flex. Like, I've been in the industry for 6-7 years. I've never been invited to audition for a Super Bowl commercial. Never been selected out of 3,000 people as one of the 5 or 7 or however. It was a very small amount of people that were selected as a primary for that.
Did it pay?
Oh, yeah.
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 That's what's up.
Yeah. That was like escort money for like an hour worth of work. That was good money. But I was like, I even told them at the end, I said, do you pay me all that money for this? And they were like, you thought that was all that money? Hell yeah, dude. I cleared $1,000 in an hour, bro. To stand there and yell obscenities at somebody while making everybody else laugh. Like, you sure you don't need me to like do a jig on the way out? Like, I did a Blue Cross Blue Shield commercial where I was boxing. Yeah. That was cool.
That's cool.
That was a nice rude wake up because like I hadn't boxed since I got pregnant with my son. And I was about to take a fight right before I got pregnant with my son. Yeah. And between all the moving and raising a baby and Doug being gone and being here and then taking my brother's kids in and, buying an RV and gutting a house and the storm that flooded the house that we were living in. Yeah. Just all the stuff and all the things, right? Yeah. Like the fact that I'm able to pursue the dreams that I had as a child that everybody told me I would never get anywhere in. And the first year, dude, I've been on probably 7 or 8 movies. 5 TV shows, 3 documentaries, 5 podcasts, about to add 2 more in the next week.
That's what's up.
You know what I mean? Yeah. When my parents would look me in the face and tell me that nobody cared. Yeah. And that I was never going to succeed in that. So before I was ever a drug addict, I adjusted my dreams and my goals to align with what people said about me and what I thought was attainable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Instead of saying, limits. Limit. So like, I guess for me this year is like, and like my main story is like, don't limit yourself. If you can't grow where you're at, then move. I think I'm trying to tell the kids that like the best thing I ever did for myself was leave my town. Because I think even if I hadn't had the history I had, I feel like we were talking before, a lot of the people, y'all might hate on me for this, but I've always been real, so I'm going to say it. A lot of the people that when I was out there ripping and running, doing all that crazy stuff, letting men finance my drug problem for a night with me or an hour with me or whatever, the same people that would tell me, oh, you need to get better. You don't deserve this. You could do so much better are the same people now that my life's getting good and it's a little better than they think it should be or they thought it ever would be are the first ones to remind me of who I was and how bad it was and how stupid I looked. Yeah. So don't get too excited for my newfound success. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that's about. But you can go get yours, homie. Yeah. If you need a reference, I got you. Yeah. Yeah. And like that's another thing too. So like back to like leaving people behind. I think that's one of those things that I have to learn in sobriety how to do. Mm-hmm. Because I'm the type where I will try to pick you up to the point where you drag me down. And then I'm angry because both of us are sitting here looking at each other. And I'm like, I tried to help you. And you're saying, bitch, I told you I didn't want help. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess you did. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, at what point do I realize, A, I'm only so powerful, right? And like, just as I'm responsible for my action, they're responsible for their inaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can only show the way.
Say
and
that
like,
again.
Yeah, just as I am responsible for my action, someone else can be responsible for their inaction.
Yeah.
And you know what else I used to say that was like, I think something that'll hit since we're talking about the stuff that like really works. You heard the thing about the 3 frogs?
No.
Okay, so 3 frogs are on a log. 2 are comfortable. 1 decides he's going to jump off. How many frogs are on the log?
None.
So you had 3. So let's go back. So you had 3 to start, right?
Yeah.
2 of them are comfortable. They decide they're going to stay. The 3rd one decides, I don't like it up here. I'm not comfortable. I'm going to jump off. How many frogs do you have left on the log?
2.
3. You know why? The 3rd one only made a decision to do something. He didn't take the action. I don't know how many times I made the decision to get sober and could not follow through long term on the action. And what follows that for me is, like, people always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Got one better for you, motherfuckers. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, knowing the result will be the same and not favorable, and you do that shit anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe. I know it ain't gonna be, just maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the type of hope we're looking for over here, guys.
Yeah.
You know, but when, like, the way I see it is like, you know, I shied away from my story a lot because it was so graphic, and because, like, I think it's different for people to physically watch it as like a show, as like a live docudrama horror event unfolding than it is to, because I can tell you, looking like I am and sounding like I am and presenting like I am, that I did these things. And you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But to see it and to see it presented, because I work in TV and film, and I knew this then, but I know it even more now. There is no such thing as something that is 100% not set up or introduced. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying that these things didn't transpire, but what I am saying is that they'll say, well, hey, we want to show people how you have money today and you've got pills today, but we want to show people what you would do if you did it. Can you go get in something that looks different than what you're in? And can you walk down the street? Because we can't show you driving because you ain't got no license, bitch.
Yeah.
So, but we can show you walking down the street and we can present it as if you're a streetwalker and that you're doing this to go get your fix because you don't have any money, even though I had pills and that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like that with TV and film, but the fact that I get to be on the other side of it, because, like, you know, part of why I shied away from it the past couple of years is nobody wants to be the intervention prison girl on the set of a TV show or a movie, right?
Right.
Nah, that ain't me.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. We don't look the same at all. But you know what I mean? I think there's power in that once you can get over the shame and the stigma, or once because I can only speak for myself, once I can get over the shame and the stigma, because shame is a big controller of my life. Shame and guilt run me.
Yeah, and that stigma is just as powerful.
Yeah, and like once you're blackballed on set, bro, I'm like nobody, you know what I mean? So like if big people can get blackballed for dumb stuff, for little things, like imagine what they could, you know, and nix my career before it even gets off the ground,
right?
You know, but I feel like I'm very fortunate to be able to have had the type of healing and the type of support that I've had. I do get some weird stuff from people like reaching out, but most people see me and they have genuine questions, or they have a family member, or they're in the field and they want to understand, or they are struggling and they want to know, is this real? Did you really get sober for an amount of time? Did you really stop using pills?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say everybody else switched to heroin and they're dead. Or they're dying, or I don't know how to stop. My doctor doesn't give me enough. I'm scared. I'm sick all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And I hear it over and over.
Yeah.
And like the only tools I have to give people are to listen and then to ask them, do you want me to like advise you and lay out steps of like how you could go about this, or do you just want someone to listen and to vent to that has been there and won't judge you?
Yeah.
Because they might be two different answers.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people just
Absolutely.
need someone to listen. They don't want to be told what to do because they're not ready to take the action like the frog.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's been good podcast, bro.
This is good.
It's been good episode.
This is good. We've laughed. We've cried.
Yeah.
You've shared some really personal shit.
Yeah.
Which I am. Your whole story is amazing. I mean, it's a lot of what you shared. I know that there are people out there that are dying to hear this so that they can relate to it, because it seems like it's not possible, but there are so many people out there just. They feel like, well, there's nobody out there that's going through the same shit that I'm going through. And there are so many people. I mean, I even shared on this podcast that I had never shared out publicly really about me being a filthy junkie. Yeah. Sharing needles and going through and digging them out of the trash. Like, I remember one of my breaking points was I was working at an AT&T call center. And I had been up for days, and I was in the bathroom stall, and I was just trying to get high because I kept falling asleep while I was on the phone, not knowing what the hell the customers were talking about. And I just kept poking myself, and I was in there for 3 fucking hours and didn't know it. And I could not find my vein. And I've got veins for days, but I was so dehydrated.
Yeah, ain't drinking no water.
It was over with.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was one of my moments. I was like, dude, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, I knew that I was better than this. I knew that my morals, I had some morals, but I didn't line up with it. Yeah. And I come to that point in my life where I was just like, fuck it. Like, how else can I do this? And I didn't want to do it any other way. I wanted to shoot it. Yeah. And that needle, and I've never touched on that really on any of my podcasts, is like that needle is an addiction of itself. Yeah. That routine, that ritual. I saw
people shoot water. I never had that. I never had that. I was a type 2.
I've done it.
Where so in treatment, I had a lot of people ask me, so what'd you do when you ran out of pills? What you mean? I mean, I was sick until some pills came through. Yeah. Well, you didn't drink, you didn't. No, for what? Yeah. Bitch, I got a stomach problem. Yeah. I'm already puking and pooping everywhere. I ain't trying to make it worse. Right. I'm just waiting for some pills. Someone's going to come through soon. You can believe that.
Dude, I wanted to get high so bad one day. I was in a hotel. I probably scammed somebody to pay for it. But all we had was somebody brought smoked dope, and they brought a bong over. And I shot bong water, and I ended up getting cotton fever.
I bet.
And I was so
lucky to die.
Oh my God, I felt like dying. I had the worst headache. I had fever. It was so bad.
I've had cotton fever a couple times. The only way I was ever able to get rid of it is another hit. And what sucks is because I do it all at once. Yeah. I might have a wash left.
It was horrible. But like, we share that to prove that we do recover. Yeah. That we do break out of that addiction, that the addiction it might be a lifelong disease. Like, I know that I can relapse and fuck my life plumb off immediately, but I know that with my recovery and the pathways that I have to that recovery, I use them, I utilize them, and I don't do this shit alone. Like, I use so many different people. I have so many different people in my life that I can reach out to if anything ever goes south. Right. Like, I am not afraid to reach out.
Yeah, to use that phone.
Yeah, and you have to. Like, I mean, just like you didn't do this shit alone. No. I didn't do this shit alone. Yeah. And so we have to recover together. We don't isolate and do it ourselves.
Recover together or die alone.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Well, Ginger, I am so glad you came on the phone. Go ahead.
Oh, listen, I want to end on a lighter note. So I got 2 things that I want to do. So Ian asked me to do the rap about the officer. Yes. And I wasn't going to do it. I wanted to do the rap about Bebop, which is what started the Slim Shady thing. Okay. And he wouldn't let me. So I want to do the Bebop. Okay. And now remember, I am not a rapper. I wrote this like 12 years ago. Okay, I'm not a rapper. It was never supposed to be rap. It was supposed to be funny. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, And again, the premise, for those that don't know, there was this girl that was probably 300 pounds, 5'2", and she had a tattoo of a trailer on her arm, like a trailer, like a house trailer. And it says straight out the park, or straight out the trailer park. Do you know how hard you gotta ride for the trailer park to have a fucking tattoo of it? Either way, she had a song where all she rapped about was tricking. And this is before, so maybe my karma was, me, zeroing in on this and making fun of that. But it was like an anthem. It wasn't like she was talking about how bad it was. She was talking like it was the best thing ever to make $20 doing that. Yeah. So I was like, we can't, because she said she was repping for the white girls. Yeah. And she was a white girl. I was like, bruh, we can't have that. We're not doing that here. Yeah. And some other girls in the dorm were trying to write something that would shut her down. Yeah. And they were like, oh no, Bebop slow. She can't flow. She gots to go. Shut up. You ain't no better. So this is what came of it. All right. And okay.
Let's do it.
All right.
Do we need to edit it in a beat to go over this?
Nah, because there was no beat then.
Okay. So no beat now.
And again, it's a limerick, so it's more of like a poem that's funny.
Okay.
Bitch, you think you hard. Fuck with me and you will be scarred. You said you was tricking on the low. If I was that dude, I'd boot you out the back door. You think your flow is tight, you need to sit your ass down, bitch. Get your head right. B.E. cuz I'll spit circles around your ass. You need to put the crack down and just stick to the grass. You think I'm playing in this bitch? Talk to your customers. They say you got that itch. This is all about the game. Fucking with me, you will not get the fame that you trying to proclaim. You need to calm your ass down so people think that you sane. I'm saying your shit is lame. I'll take your baby daddy and I'll make that dude tame. You said that you thought that he was creeping because he was with me every night and on the weekend. So before you step to me, you better check yourself, chick, and know who you be. Verse 2, I walk with a limp. I talked to my man and he said he was your pimp. He took all your money and spent it on me. Oh, by the way, thanks for the gifts under my Christmas tree. He said after you, he had to shut the business down. Your white customers complain that you turn their what brown? We know you get around because these dudes done spread your business all over town. They talk from Miami to LA about your business and they claim that you say, give me $1 and just send me on my way. And you know that they do after he and his boys ran a train on you. So just remember this. Keep your mouth closed if you come with that diss. And now it's about time. So let's get her done and we'll wrap up this rhyme. But, that's it. I forgot the end. It's something like, check yourself, bitch, and know who you be. Remember something, the white girl from the South. I don't know. I remember most of it. It's 12 years old. So the fact that I remember that shit because I had to do it so often because people started asking for it. And then she cried after I did, because I thought we were on 8 Mile, bro. I saw that movie. You say some shit talking crap about me, I say some shit talking crap about you, and then they vote and tell us who's the best. But it don't matter if we mean it or not. Yeah. So I was just trying to do what I thought she was going to do. Yeah. I never been in no rap battle, you know what I mean? Look at me. But she cried and told me that I had a horrible mouth and I was basically a terrible human being and that I sounded like the sergeant that cussed at everybody and everybody hated because he was like, hey, motherfucker, you fucking retard, the fuck are you doing? So I was like, okay, you want me to make fun of myself? Because she was like, you guys would be perfect for each other. Why don't you write a rap about that? And then the thing about the sergeant was born, and then Ginger went and did confinement for 87 days under investigation.
Oh my God.
It turned into a big thing. There were officers that would get in the tower when they would see me walking down the compound. It would be like, they'd get on the tower and would, ha 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 ha, because I laugh at everything. Because what else can you do? I'm in fucking prison. I can't do shit else about it. Yeah. Start getting loud. Y'all talk about spraying me. You know what I mean? I'm just like this. Yeah. But yeah, it turned into this big thing. The guards would get on the tower and would go, ha ha ha, I'm in love with Sergeant, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We got a house on the hill. So it turned into this thing that had traction. Then he would point me out when I'd be on the compound and he'd be talking. No, that's her. That one, not that one, that one. Bro, you're stupider than I was, homie. And I was new. I never did jail time. Yeah. I was sentenced on Tuesday and was in prison Thursday night. So I was in segregation the first 2 days and then was just put into a normal GP and was fucking still detoxing but still on pills, trying to stabilize, so I wasn't You know what I mean? I wasn't there.
Yeah.
If I had learned anything in that one day, I don't remember it at all. So I had to learn like all the etiquette of prison in prison.
Which is a whole
it's a whole different thing, you know? And you're dealing with people that have been there a long time, whereas county, you're in and out, you know? Yeah. So, okay, so the other thing is this. So what is that? That's a nice heart, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Show it to the camera.
Can it see it? Can you see that? Can you see it? Can you see it?
See it.
All right. So, you're stupid. You're fat. You'll never reach your goals. Trauma. Oh, what else? Addiction. Sexual abuse. What's happening?
You're crumbling.
Okay. Let's keep going. Prison. Abandonment issues. Physical abuse. You're released. You're let go. You know, or he doesn't maybe, you know, because you could apply this to a lot of things, right? Yeah. Being released from prison, being released from your drug addiction, being released from alcoholism, sex addiction, whatever it is that you're struggling with that caused, this is what caused it, and this is your heart, right? You know, this is me, and you're you, and you come in, and like, you know, I like you, you've got something I want to have a life with you. I'm gonna give you that. What the fuck is that? Yeah. You know, I mean,
it's pieces. Yeah.
Well, that's my whole heart, though. Yeah. Like my whole heart's there. You just can't see it because of the damage and the abuse that it's taken. Because I have allowed that in my life. So now I have a broken heart that I'm trying to give to people, and they think I'm not a complete person. I love that you said what you said, because that was what I was wanting you to say. And so this ain't a full heart, but it is. You just can't see that because of what I've been through, right? But if you're willing to accept that it's busted, but it's still a whole heart, and well, maybe we could take some time and put this back together. Yeah. You never get the person that you would have been without the experiences, right?
Right.
But maybe, just maybe, you can build bonds with people and you can help other people by saying, my heart may not be perfect, but it's complete. Yeah. You know, and like I'm doing what I can now to make sure that the people that give me their hearts, I don't do this to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking about, I just saw these in the airport, and I don't know why that came into my head, but I was like, I feel like it's a good visual tool. Yeah. You can't take back the things that you do and the things that you say, right? We can't take it back. Whatever we do, whatever we put out into the world, it goes out and it does what it does, and it has its effects and it has its consequences. So the only thing that I, as a broken person, or I, as someone that has broken someone else, because even good people that never have drug addictions or never have problems break people in one way or another, whether they ever know it or not. Yeah. The best thing that I can do now is be aware that this is delicate, it's important, and that it is my responsibility to do the best with it that I can, because my heart is my heart, and if this is a heart that someone else gave to me, they gave it to me and I accepted it. Yeah. So, like, where is your responsibility in that? Does that make sense? You're not responsible to fix them. No. But you're responsible to not continue to do any more damage. Yeah. So if I leave y'all with anything, let it be that, like, you know, we're all broken in some ways, right? But if you find someone that's willing to accept the brokenness and help you piece it back together and not break it anymore, dude, that's your person. Yeah. You know, that's your rider.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You need to be whatever it is you want in a relationship, you need to be before you start seeking it in other people.
Yeah. Damn.
Otherwise, you break that.
Damn. You did that. Yeah.
I dropped the mic, but I don't.
Yeah. You did that. That was beautiful. That was a very good illustration.
I'm gonna eat this broken
cookie. That was a great illustration. Yeah. Now you won't eat that cookie.
I'm going to eat that cookie. This is good, man. It's fun.
Damn.
I'm glad we did this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for traveling and doing that and taking your time to do this. I think you told an amazing story today. It's going to help a lot of people. I love the illustration. You're a beautiful person. You're beautiful. Your mind and your heart and your spirit is absolutely pleasant to be around, and you are definitely sending a message of hope. Thank you so much, Ginger.
Thanks, man. I feel like you're doing the same thing, if I spot it, I got it, right?
Yeah.
So and I reached out to you.
Absolutely.
So,
I know.
You had something that I felt like was worth me investing my time and my money and my energy into being a part of.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep.
Y'all have a great night. Thank you for tuning in.